includes
Nesse vídeo, você vai aprender.
Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video here we successfully complete our this e-wallet project, right? Every functionality is now successfully working. I hope you like it very much. So friend, in this video I will start a new session, and into this session we'll solve another project. Okay, if you go to your project exercise file, and into this project exercise file I have already done some of the work for our e-wallet in our JavaScript folder, right? So that is our total last project. I have already copied it and then I have already saved it in here. So that is, you can see, that is actually e-wallet done. So whatever the things I have done in our for our e-wallet project in our index.js, everything you will get it in here. Okay, so we started from to this e-wallet project. That was one of the blank project, and here we have done it. So that is our done source code. Okay, everything I will share that things with you. I hope it will help you. And now I want to add another project. So that is a project 3, and that is the ProFinder, and from to the position I want to start it. Okay, and here that is the same file. There are one of the icon file and the index.css, HTML one of the file, and the JS file. That is our file structure. If you open it, if you open with the Google Chrome, so that will be our new project. Okay, that will be one of the API based project, because here when you search anything by the name, so it will be search that things into the GitHub. If this user is exists, then that will be get this user details, and it will be display like that way. Okay, here that will be display one of the images, it will be display one of the name. That means this user name, this user details, flowers, every data. Okay, every data it will be get it, and then that will be display, and here that will be display all that repository. That means this user all that repository. So that will be our project. I hope you like it very much, because that will be one of the API based project. Okay, for the reasons I want to do in this video, first of all I want to set up everything from to the position that will be started. Better I copy it, and now in our desktop I have already created one of the JavaScript folder. Here I want to work. Okay, so now I want to paste it. I simply paste it in here. So our first work is we have to add it. We have to add it into the editor. That is a Visual Studio Code editor. So that is our e-wallet project. Now I do want to change it. Click as a open new folder, and from to the JavaScript folder, and that is the ProFinder started. Okay, that is our folder name. I select this folder. Now it shall be get all that our this folder, all that file in here, right? And you can see it's now successfully get all that file. Right now I remove it, and now they have on the icon, they have one of the index.css. I have already designed this CSS, and also they have the index HTML and then the index.js. So we'll work in our particular that area, right? I hope at that point you already know about it, because we did the same things a lot of the time. All that our functionality I will add in our index, and that is our design section, one of the static file as the index HTML. Okay, and here that is our project name, and into this project they have one of the form. You can see that is one of the form. So here we'll actually work in particular this form. Okay, this form means here you can see that is one of the form. So that is one of the form. From to this position we'll call all that our API. And then when if it didn't get any appropriate data, then that will be display our this div as a user not found. Okay, then that will be display this type of one of the things, and then that is our user profile. Okay, so you can see that is our user profile div, and here they have some of the images, and also after that there is a name, and all that is static data. Actually you can see there is all that is static data. This data is now visible in here. So that is one of the images, and there is a name, username, and everything is display. So that is our user all the data, and also there is another div for the repository, and for the repository here I have actually take two of this. You can see there is one div, and there is also another one. So there is one div, and also there is another one. Like they have the two repository I have simply added. Like there is a one, and there is our another div. Okay, so that is a pretty much simple basic HTML structure, and that will be friend one of the API based. We will use which API I show you. If you write down as the API GitHub, and then users, and the Android. If you search with the Android, it will be get this Android all that API data. Okay, and also my GitHub account as easy learning BD. If you enter, so that is our total API data. Okay, here I want to use this repos URL. So we'll call actually this repos URL, and when you call it, then you will get this user all the data. If you open it, better I copy it first. Okay, I copy it and go to that open URL, and now you can see it will be get all that this user API data. Okay, so that is all the data. So how can working with this step by step, everything will be more clear to you. So that is one of the default API. I want to use all that API, and I want to call this API and find it in here. Okay, so that will be another simple project. I hope you will like it very much. So if you already set up that file, now let's start to make it as a dynamic. Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video here, we successfully set up our total new project, right? And also I have take it in our editor as a Visual Studio Code editor. Better I want to run with the live server. If you click as a go live, then that will be run again with our port, which is totally fine. So right now we don't need this. I close it, and also I close it, and that is our one of the user, right? And here there is another user as a Andrew. Now I want to actually call this API. Okay, with this API I want to get this user all data. Right now we don't need this. I close it. Okay, perfect. So here live server is now running. I want to call this API. So if you want to call this API, I hope you already remember that part. I have already discussed about that things with you. Then that we have to run with the fetch, right? We have to fetch all the data. So if you want to do that work right now, we have to work in our index.js. So I simply open this index.js, and now we have to write down this code in here. Okay. So I want to fetch this API data. So here we have to run that fetch. Right, so that will be the fetch, and into this fetch area here I want to use that backtick, and into this backtick I want to call out this API. Right now I want to get this user all the data. I copy it, and then here I simply paste it. Okay, and now we have to pass one of the promise, like we have to get all the data. So after that, then that will be the then. Remember that there's then method, and into this then method area here I want to pass one of the response. You can see it's also display as a value will be as a response. Okay, I want to pass that response or res, whatever you choose. I pass one of the parameter in here, and then I want to call it. Okay, I want to take this response data, because that will be one of the JSON format data, right? So for the reasons with this response will be as a JSON. Okay, JSON, so that will be as a JSON property. Here I simply call this JSON. Okay, and then also I want to promise it with another name, like I make it as a then function again, and with this then, that is here I want to call it with another name as a profile, because I want to get this user profile. Okay, here I make it as a profile. So that is a profile, and this profile will be returned. Okay, here we have to return it. I want to simply return it with this what name. I better into the console log I want to check it. So into the console log area I want to return this profile. Okay, so that is actually a profile. I simply pass it. Okay, I simply pass it in particular that position. Now that should be display in our profile. Now if you click as a save all, and now if you go and here right now I refresh it, and now go to that inspect, and if you go to that console and go to that console, you can see there is one of the object, and into this object area it's perfectly get all that our user data. Okay, that means this user data, and here if you go, you can see there is a name is visible in here. There is a logging with this Andro location as UK, every data. Okay, this user all the data is now successfully visible. And if you want to get this data in different way, I have already discussed about that things with you. With this asynchronous function we can do that work, right? Then what exactly you have to do, you have to write down as a asynchronize. Okay, asynchronize, and then I put one of the function. There is a function keyword, and I just name it as a get user. Okay, that is one of the function. I simply loaded this function, and into this function area here I want to pass one of the name. Okay, so here in particular that position I want to pass one of the name, and then I want to get this data, right? So here if you want to get it, I better take one of the variable as a constant variable, and I just name that variable as a response or res. Okay, I make it as a res, and then here we have to do that is one of the asynchronous function, right? If you want to fetch this data for the first time, you have to use it as a await. Remember, I have already discussed about that things with you. That will be the await, and then we have to write down as a fetch. Okay, right? Then that will be as a fetch method. I simply loaded this fetch, and into this fetch area here I want to get which user data. This user data I want to pass this API in here. Okay friend, I hope you already remembered this part. Then after that, that is one of the JSON format data. So I take another variable as a constant variable. I just name it as a profile. Okay, profile. So you can actually do that things like that way, then that will be actually easy. And then also here we have to make it as a await. There is a await function, and then that will be as a response. So that is our response. Here I want to make it as a JSON data. So that is one of the JSON format data, and now I want to return this. Okay, I want to simply return this profile. I simply return this profile. I hope friend it's very much clear to you. Okay, so now that is the appropriate here. Right now we don't need this. I want to do and to close it. Okay, I simply close it. Great. But here one things you have to remember, like when you use that things like that way, it should be able to transfer only the 60 API in 1 hour. So if you want to add that multiple one, then you have to create one of the another API. But I show you. You can do that work, rather than that is totally fine. If you go to that GitHub page, okay, that means the GitHub official page. I want to do, first of all, I want to logging, and that is totally free. First of all, you have to create one of the GitHub account. Okay, make that sure you created one of the GitHub account. So now I have already created one of the account, and after that logging, that is our setting option. If you have to go to that setting, and into the setting you have to go to the developer setting. And into this developer setting here, there is a GitHub apps, and also there is a OAuth apps. Okay, here you have to create one of the OAuth application. So simply create as a register new application, and into this area here you have to write down your app name. So here education purpose I use it as a LE. Okay, LE, and then the ProFinder. Okay, ProFinder app. So this type of one of the name I want to add, and after that, then that will be the home page URL. Our home page URL will be our local server. Okay, that means that is actually our local server. I copy it, and then here I paste it. Okay, so that will be our local server, and also there is authentication callback URL. Here I also want to use that same. So that's all you have to do. And after that, that is a register application. I want to click as a register application. You can see this application created successfully. Okay, when you created this application, it should be provided two things. It should be provided one of the client ID, and also it should be created one of the client secret key. If you generated it, now that should be display. You can see now there is a display as a secret, one of the secret key, and also there is one of the client ID. Okay, so now I want to add both of these in our project. That means here I want to take one of the variable as a constant variable. Okay, constant. I make it as a name, it as a client ID, client underscore ID. Okay, client ID. And into this client ID area, here I want to simply copy it. That is our client ID. I copy it, and now I want to add it in here, which is totally fine. And also there is another one. I make it as a constant. Okay, constant, and I just name it as a client secret. Okay, underscore secret. So client secret, and into this client secret area here I want to pass over this secret key. Okay, so that is actually secret key. I copy it, and now I want to paste it in here. Okay, make that sure you add both of this in particular that position. Now I want to pass this client ID and then the client secret in our this URL. Okay, into this URL, if you want to pass it, better I want to pass it with the query string. With this query string, we can pass it very easily. Then what exactly you have to do? After that name, that will be one of the questions mark. Okay, after that name, that will be the questions mark, and then I just name it as a client client underscore ID. Okay, client ID will be, first of all, that will be the $sign, and for the reasons here I'm actually using that backtick. Okay, for the reasons now we are able to use it, then that will be as a curly bracket, remember, and into this curly bracket, that is our ID, right? That means that is our client ID. I take it with this variable, so now I simply pass it. Great. And after that, I want to add another one, that will be as and. Okay, and then there is client secret, client underscore secret. So that will be as a client secret, and client secret will be first time that will be as a $sign, and then the curly bracket, and into this curly bracket area here I have already taken our client secret key. Now I want to pass it in here. Okay, I simply pass it. I hope, friend, it's very much clear to you. Here we generated our client ID and then client secret key, that is one of the API. Now we are able to call more than 5,000 API in 1 hour. Okay, so before, if you make it as only this one, then that will be only, then you are able to call 100 API in 1 hour. So right now we are generated it, so we are able to now call that more than 5,000 API in 1 hour. Okay, how can do that work? I hope it's very much clear to you. So friend, here we successfully complete one part, and now we have to work in our this input field. Okay, so into this input field, whatever the name you will, that means whatever the keyword you will pass it from here, it will be search in our GitHub. Okay, into this GitHub area it will be search, and if you get perfect one of the user data, then that will be get all that user data, and that will be display in here. Okay, now we have to work in our this form. So if you want to work in particular this form, first of all we have to find out appropriate position, right? If you go to that our index HTML, into this index HTML here, we have to also create another DOM element. I hope you already know about it, because we have already done this type of one of the project. You can say that is one of the form, right? Into this form I started, and that is our form ended. So into this form area, that is one of the input field, and there have one of the ID, right? That is one of the ID as a search ID. Here we have to take it, and also there is an input field, and into this input field there is also another ID as a find by username. Okay, now I want to do, first of all I want to get our this ID as a search in our index.js. Right now I want to do what exactly you have to do. I hope you already know the procedure, and now I want to work again. That will be as a document, and then the query selector. So with this query selector I want to get all our ID, right? So if you want to get this ID, what exactly you have to do? First of all, that will be our name as a search, and for the first time that will be as a hash, because that is one of the ID hash, and then our class name, that means ID name. And after that I want to add one of the listener, that will be as add. Okay, add event listener. So I simply loaded this add event listener method, and now first of all we have to pass that our type will be as a submit type, right? I make it as a submit type. You can see it's also suggested as a add event listener. Here we have to pass one of the parameter as a type. I simply pass it, and then here we have to write down one of the function. I want to use that array function. Okay, if you want to add that array function, then that will be as a from here also I want to pass one of the event. I have already discussed about that things with you, and that is our array function, right? We simply call our this array function in here. And you can see it's already getting some of the error, because of all that will be on of the comma, not the full stoppies. You can see now it's totally fine. Perfect. So in particular that position, when you search any keyword, this page not should be reloaded, right? If you want to protect it, I have already discussed about that things with you. There is another method as a prevent default, right? So prevent default will be our this event. So I want to pass that event. This event will be as a prevent, okay, prevent default. Okay, that is a prevent default, and I just simply call this prevent default method. Now this page will be not loaded, and now I want to get like the username, right? So if you want to get this user, here there is also another ID as a find by user. I want to take this part. If you want to take it, then that will be same. I first of all take one of the constant variable as a username. Okay, I name it as a username, and then that will be as a document, and then the query selector. With this query selector I want to get this ID, our ID. That means here we have to add that as a hash, because that is one of the ID. If you go into this index, that is our find by username, right? I want to use that as a find by username. Okay, friend, and then from to this position, what exactly you have to do? You have to get this value, whatever the things you will type. So that is one of the value. I want to get this value If you want to get this value, then you have to write down as a value, right? That will be as a value. I simply write down this value. Great. Now if you want to check it, which type of user it's actually get, now into the console log. Okay, console, into the console log, I want to display our this username. Okay, username, I simply display it. Now if you want to check it, click as a save all. Now go there, now refresh it. I refresh it. Here actually it's getting some of the icon error, which is not important, which is totally fine. If you remove this script, then automatically that will be gone. Okay, which is right now it's totally fine. So I want to write down as a Aryan. Okay, I make it as a Aryan. Now click as a search. It's make it as a null. Okay, it's getting as a null. Why it's actually getting that null? Let's check this out. Here that is our value. You can see that is one of the why it's coming out. I have already write down as a value, right? That will be as a value. Okay, value maybe actually comes from by suggested, so that will be one of the value, right? Now let's check this out. Click as a save all. Now go there, refresh it. I make it as a Aryan. Now enter. Yes, now you can see it's now perfectly get that name. Okay, that means total our perfect keyword value is now get it. So now I want to do, when you pass any name, that will be search into the GitHub API, and if you get some of the data, then that will be get this data, right? Here I have already created one of the method as a get user method, and that is one of the asynchronous function, right? So now we have to also make this function, because here I am actually using that array function. So here that is our function, right? Into this function area here also you have to make it as a asynchronous function. So that is I make it as a asynchronous. Okay friend, I hope it's very much clear to you. I make it as a asynchronous, and here from to this position I pass one of the names. So this name I want to pass that is our username. Okay, so if you want to pass it right now, what exactly you have to do? Better I take another variable as a constant variable. I hope friend you understand, because every part I'm actually trying to explain very clearly, but you have to practice it. When you practice, then that will be more clear to you. Okay, I take another variable as a profile. I make it as a profile. So into this profile area, that is one of the asynchronous functions. So for the reasons here, we have to use it with the await, right? That will be the await. And with this await, I want to access our this get user method. Okay, I simply loaded this get user, and into this get user, that is one of the parameter I have passed before as a name. So now that is actually I get all that our value, take the things with this variable, and now here I want to pass it. Because with this value it should be searched, right? With this value it should be searched. Now for the reasons here I pass it. So now if you want to check it, you can check it like here. I want to pass, that is our constant profile. I want to pass this profile in here. Okay, this is the console log area. I want to print this profile. And now we have to update our link. That means here you can say I have already getted that users, and then appropriate one of the users. So this user will be what? This user will be whatever the key I'm actually passing from here. So that will be our this key, right? So that is the name. I want to pass this name in here. Okay, that will be as a total dynamic. If you want to pass it, then first time we have to add that as a $sign, and then the curly bracket. And into this curly bracket area here I want to pass this name. Okay, so now I simply pass it. If you now click as a save all, now let's check this out. If you go click as a refresh, so right now I search with the name here, there is a username as a Andrew. I copy it, and then that will be as Andrew. Click as a enter. Yes, you can see it's now successfully get this data. That means this Andrew data is successfully getted. You can see there is a logging user name, everything. And if you search with the easy learning, my account username as easy learning bd. Okay, if you search with the easy learning bd, now click as a enter. Okay, I make it as a enter. Now which data is actually is getted? There is same data, right? Its data is not changes. Here this data is not changes. Better I have to refresh it again. Let's check this out. There is easy learning bd. Click as a enter right now. Yes, you can see it's now perfectly get that easy learning data. So all that easy learning data, there is a country location, logging user, everything. You can see it's now successfully get all that our easy learning details data. Okay, you can see there is a bio as a best professional online courses, the blog, everything. Okay, everything is now successfully get to this data, and I hope it's very much clear to you. Now I want to get this user all the API data, and this data I want to visible in here. Okay, in particular that position. So how can do that work better? I want to continue this process. In our next video, I will show you that things with a live example. Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video with the fetch method, we get all that our user data, right? Whatever the keyword you will search it will be check all that our API data. If we get some of the data, then that will be display, right? So here I have already checked with the easy learning, and if you search with another user as a Andrew, I want to search with this Andrew, refresh it, Andrew, click as enter. Now you see it's now successfully get this data. And now I want to get this all the data, and here I want to visible it in our home page. That means in our front-end page. Okay, so how can do that work? For doing this, we have to do like there have one of the profile image, the name, right? Everything is in here, and also there is a repository. So first of all, I want to find out this part that is in our. If you go to our index.html and into this index.html, you can see that is our user profile. Right, so that is the profile, the name, the bio. Okay, there is a bio and the flower, the flowing, and everything is in here. And also if you run this API, that is our API, right? And into this API you can see that is the picture. For the picture there is our avatar URL, and then that is our URL, avatar ID, and then they have the email, the company, the name, right? And then the flowers and then flowing, everything is in here. Now I want to actually call it because I have already get this data, so it will be very easy. For the first time I want to find out this part. That means that is our profile div, right? If you select it, so this profile is started from here and ended in particular that position. So better I copy this part. Okay, after that our profile, and then the images I copy it. I copy total things from here, and now in our index, because here we have to actually display, right? After that better I put some of the note for references. Okay, for references I put that comment. Okay, I want to make it as a comment out. So in particular that position here I paste it. Great. So here first of all I want to declare one of the method. Okay, here in our this method, that is our get user. Here I want to run it. So for the reasons here I want to create one of the method name as a show. Okay, show profile. This type of one of the method now I want to create. Okay, and here I want to pass our this awaiting all that user profile details. Here I want to pass it. So that is our in particular that position. Great. Now I want to declare this method. So if you want to declare this method, then that will be the function and then the show profile. Okay, so he simply created this method in here. And into this method I pass our profile. So now I'm going to pass this profile because all the data in here, right, into this profile. And now I want to first of all get this element. That means that is actually our class name, dev class name as a profile. I want to take it, I copy it. Now if you go to that index, so into this index area here, that will be same logic. That is a document, and then the query selector. With this query selector I want to get our this class name. So if you want to get this class name, that will be as a dot and then the profile. That means our class name, right? And here I want to add that our inner HTML. Okay, inner HTML, because that is one of the inner HTML code, and into this inner HTML I want to use that as a backtick. Here I want to actually pass all that our HTML code. Okay, so that is actually our HTML code. I copy that images, and that is our last one. I copy it. Okay, I copy it, and then into the backtick area here I paste it. Okay, I simply paste it. I hope friend you already know about it, because we did the same logic a lot of the time. Right now you can remove it, rather than it's totally fine. Okay, it's totally fine. So like first of all, that is an image. Every data is in our which place? Every data is right now in our this profile, right? So with this profile now I want to display this image. So here I want to do and to remove everything, and if you want to now call it, then that will be as a dollar, right? And then the curly bracket, and into this curly bracket with this profile, and then I want to access our API field data. Our API field data means if you go here you can see that is actually the avatar URL, right? So that is our user profile. So I want to use it, avatar URL. I simply want to access this avatar URL. Okay, I hope it's very clear. Now we have to do the same things in our every places. I copy it because that is already our username, right? So in particular that position I want to paste it, and also that will be as a login. I paste it. That will be as a bio. Here I paste it. So now that is our name. Name will be as a profile, and then if you go to our API, into the API field, you can see there is a name. I want to use that name, so that will be as a name. Okay, great. And then that will be as a logging name. Logging name means that is actually a logging name. I copy it. That will be as a logging name. Great. And then the bio, if you go, there have also should be another bio. You can see there is a bio. So I want to use this bio. I copy it, and now that will be as a bio. Great. And also there is another one. Better I copy it. That will be for the flowers. Okay, so flowers I paste it, and also I paste it. So now I want to use that as a flowers. Flowers will be actually this one as a flowers. I copy it, and then that will be as a flowers, and that will be as a flowing. The flowing field as a flowing. I copy it, and then that will be as a flowing. Okay, I simply load it. Great. And then there is a company, and then the location. Okay, company and location, there is a name. Better I copy it, because that will be same. Here I paste it, and the location name I paste it. Okay, so that will be as a company. If you go, that should be another one. You can see there is a company right now as a null, but I want to use it. That will be as a company, and then that will be as a location. Location, also there is another one. If you go, you can see there is a location. I copy this location, and now I want to use this location. Okay friend, how much easily we complete this part. I hope you like it very much. Now if you want to check it, click as a save all. Now that should be display our appropriate data, because that before that was as a static data, right? Now I want to close it, click as a refresh, and I want to search with this Andrew. Now click as a Andrew, click as a search. You can see it's now perfectly get this Andrew all the data. That is the name, bio is also visible, flowers visible, flowing visible, company is a null, and location is UK. Great. And now if you want to search with the easy learning BD. Okay, easy learning BD, click as a search. You can see it's now perfectly get that easy learning doll. That is easy learning profile images is visible. There is a name is visible. Everything, there is a already bio is visible as a best professional online courses. Flower is visible and flowing. Everything is great, right friend? It's perfectly get all the data and visible it in our front end. So in our next video, I want to get this user all the repositories. Okay, all the repository one by one that should be displayed, and we'll get this repository. If you go here, that is our repos URL. Okay, here that is all that our repository details. So with this we can actually get all the data. Okay, how can do that work? In our next video, I will show you that things with a live example. Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video, we successfully able to get user all the data, right? Here we successfully complete this part. So it will be hit one of the API, and then it's fetch all the data and visible this data in our front end. Now I want to work for this repository. That means if this user have any repository, then that will be displayed one by one in here. Okay. Now let's do that work. For doing this, as I told you, when you access this API, it's provided one of the object, right? Into this object, there is one of the property as a repos URL. So if you access this repos URL, this user, all that repository you will get by this API. Okay, with this API, you can actually able to access all this user repository. Now we have to fetch this API, right? If you go to our code, into this code, you can see before for the get user, I have already fetched this URL. Now our URL is become changed. Now we want to access this URL. Okay. So if you want to do that work, what exactly you have to do? Simple work that will be just like that same. Here I want to call another function. Okay, that will be another asynchronous function. So I make it as asynchronize. So asynchronize, and I make it one of the function name. I just name it as a get repository repos. So now that will be our repository method, and into this method I want to do and to pass out this profile. Okay, that is our profile. I simply pass it. Great. Now I want to do and to fetch this data. So that will be just like that same. Okay, that will be just like that same. Better I write down it again. After that I will use it as a constant variable. That is on the constant variable I make it as a response. Okay, so that is our response, and then I want to, that will be one of the asynchronous functions. So for the reasons here we have to add that as await. Okay, that is our await, and then I want to call that our fetch method. Okay, so that will be the fetch method, and into this fetch method area here I want to pass out the back tag, and into this back tag area what exactly you have to do here. That is our API. I have already get all that our API details into this profile, right? With this profile now I want to do and to access our this repository URL, right? Simple work. Now I want to do here, that will be into this backtick area. So first of all that will be as a $, and then the curly bracket, and first time that will be as a profile, right? And into this profile then I want to do and to access as a repository URL. I copy it, then that will be as a repository URL. Great. And also I want to do to pass that our client ID, like here, like that will be just like that same. Better I want to copy it. Okay, I want to copy it, and then that is ended. I copy it, and then here I paste it, because when you use that as a client ID, I have already created it. So as I told you, now you are able to call 5000 API in 1 hour. Okay, so I simply take both of this, our client ID and then the secret key. Great. And after that what exactly you have to do? So the same procedure that I have already done before, so it should be same. I take one of the another variable as a constant. I just name it as a repos. Okay, a repo, and then here I want to do with this await. With this await I want to pass that our response data. So that is our response, right? That is our response, all the data that will be on the JSON format. So I make it as a JSON. Great. Same, and now I want to do to return it. That means I want to return this repo. Okay, I simply returned it. The procedure will be just like that same. Here I have already done the same things. Now I have already done it in here. I hope friend it's very much clear to you what exactly the things I have done in particular that position. Now I want to call this method. Okay, I want to call this method when I should be perfectly get that user data, right? And after that, better here I want to take another constant variable, and I just name it as a repos. Okay, repos, and then that will be same as the await, and with this await here I want to call our this method name as a get response, and into this position here also you have to pass that our profile, right? That will be as a profile. I want to do and to pass this profile, because if you go to our method, into this method you can say I also pass that as a profile. So now I simply pass it. Great. So now if you want to check that repos, you can also check it with the console log. Okay, console, I want to check it first. It's perfectly get appropriate this user all the repository or not. Here I want to do and to pass that repos. Okay, repos. I simply pass it. Now let's check this out. If you now click as a save all, and now if you go to our founding, click as a refresh, and here I want to do the search with this user. I copy it, and now I search it, and better I want to open with the inspect. Okay, inspect, and if you now go to that console, into this console, if you search with this user, okay, with this user, it's perfectly get this user all the data. So right now there is a 30 repository. You can see there is a length as a 30. So that is our user details. Okay, that means this user details, and that is all that repository. Here if you want to add that limitations, like right now there is a 30 repository in here. So if you want to add that limitation, like how many repository you want to visible in here, I want to visible as a 5 or 10. Okay, so if you want to add some of the limitation, you can also add it. Then we have to run another query, like that is actually our get response, right? Here after this only you have to do then that will be as a and sign. Okay, that will be as a and then per underscore page. Okay, per page I want to display as a 10. Okay, that will be displayed as a 10. So now that's all you have to do. If you now click as a save all, and now I want to run it again, but I copy it. That is our username. I refresh it. Now paste it, search it. Now you can see it's now perfectly get only the 10. Okay. So now it successfully get this 10. So now, which is totally fine. Now this all that repository I want to visible in here. So if you want to do that work here, we have to run of the for loop, right? Because with this for loop, one by one, it will be check, and if you get any data, then that will be get this data, right? If you want to do that work, like the index, into this index right now, there is the static. I have already displayed two of this. Here you can see there is one of the dev, and that is our repository, right? That is one. If you select it, that is ended in here, so that is one, and also there is our another one. Okay, so now I want to take it, and then we have to append it in our this. That means that will be our child, right? Here we have to append it. So for doing this, I want to do first I want to create another function. Okay, I want to, that is all that our get response, right? Into the get response data, and then there is our show profile. Here I want to call another one. Okay, I want to call another function name as a show repository. Okay, before I display the profile, now I want to display the repository. Okay, repos. I simply loaded, and here also I want to pass that our which things I want to pass that our response. Okay, that means this response I want to do and to pass it. Great. So now I want to call this method. Okay, I call this method, I copy it, and then here I name it as a function, and then our method name. So that is our method. Great. And in particular that position I pass that our repos data. That means that is our repos data. I have already get all the data before. I have already discussed about that things with you. Now in particular that position we have to run out the for loop, right? Because one by one it will be get all the data. That will be as a for of. So I make it as a for, and then the late I take one of the variable as a repo. Okay, whatever the name actually you choose, variable as a repo of which one, all the data right now in here, right now in particular that position. And after that I want to run our for loop. Okay, so right now all the data in here, now we are able to access this with this. Okay, that means with this variable. So if you already know a little bit the Laravel, so in Laravel what exactly we have done, we take all that variable and then we make it as whatever the name actually you choose, right? But in JavaScript it's a little bit different. Whatever the data right now here we have to pass it, and then you have first time that will be declared the variable. Okay, now with this repo variable here, now we want to visible all the data. Okay, that means one by one that will be incremented. For the reasons here I want to do, here I take one of the variable with the late and then make it as a new HTML. Okay, I make it as a HTML, and then for the first time I want to make it as a empty. Okay, here I make it as a empty. Great. And then in our for loop, into this for loop area here, now one by one that will be as a plus, right? I want to do that will be as a new HTML. This new HTML will be as a plus equal. I make it as a equal, and here one by one we have to add it, right? For this here I take one of the backtick. Okay, into this backtick area I want to take our which part, that is our repo part. Okay, I select it. You can see it's ended in particular that area, so that means this div I want to copy, and now in our index here I want to and to paste it. Okay friend, I hope it's very much clear to you. Now that is our backtick. I want to write down these things in like that way. So that is our last one. Okay, that is our total function. Okay, which is totally fine. So here if I have already get that our repos all the data, that means we get that our API, that means this one, right? Now I want to display all that name. Like here what data I want to visible, like that is one of the name, right? If you want to display this name, what exactly you have to do, and that will be first time that was a $sign and then the curly bracket, and into this curly bracket everything right now into the repo, right? So now with this repo now we are able to access our this API, that means our main API as a repo URL I have already called. So that means that is our total API. Now I want to display this name. Okay, that is the name. I copy it, and after that I want to display that name. Great. And if you want to add that URL will be here. That is our, you can see there is a HTML URL, right? So there is a HTML URL I want to add. But I copy it, that will be same. I simply paste it, and here right now that will be as a HTML URL. Okay, so right now that is our API, and into this API that I have before I did the same things. Okay, that is our all that object property data. Now I want to access or this one, right? That is our another one. So HTML URL I want to display this HTML URL. Great. And after that, the name, that is our language. Which type of language is that? Here I want to display this language. If you want to display it, and there is also another part. Here there is a lot of the things in here. You can see there is a language. I want to display this language. I copy it. So here that will be the same process, but I copy it. I want to paste it. I want to paste it, and also here I paste it. So that will be as a language. I want to display this language. Our language will be displayed, which is totally fine. And then the star outline. Okay, star outline means there is the watcher. Okay, here that have also another watcher. I want to use it. You can see there is a watcher count. Okay, there is a watcher count, and also there is a watcher count as a 5. I want to use this watcher count. Okay, I copy it. That will be as a watcher count. And then the outline as a branch outline, right? Branch outline I want to make it as a this one. Okay, flux. There's a flux count. I copy it, and here I want to display this flux count. Great. And now we have to actually add our this total dev. We have to add this total dev in our this reports. Okay, that is a main dev, right? Into this main dev area there is a repos. Here we have to append it, right? Now I want to add it. So if you want to add it, then what exactly you have to do, I hope you already know. After that for loop. Okay, so that is our for loop, and after that I want to access it with the document and then the query selector, and with this query selector I want to get this our class name. So if you want to get this class name, our class name is repos. Okay, I will copy it. That will be our repos, and I get it, and into this area with this inner HTML I want to simply add this. That's all you have to do. I make it as inner HTML, and into this inner HTML that will be which one? That will be our this variable as a new HTML. Okay, I simply take it. Now that's all. Now that should be displayed perfectly. Okay, here I simply add that our total dev in here. Great. So that's all you have to do. Now let's check this out. Click as a save all. If everything okay, it should be work. Right now there is all that is static. Now click as a refresh. If you go right now to search with the name. Okay, search with the name, and now click as a enter. Now if you go, yes, you can see it's not perfectly get all the repository, and I put some of the limitation as a 10 for the reasons you can see it's not display as a 10. Great. And if you search with the easy learning BD, now search it, everything is great. Yes, you can see it's also perfectly get all my repository. Right now there are the 10, and you can see it's also display the star mark, everything. Okay, there is also display the language, HTML, null, PHP, everything. Great. I hope friend you like it very much. Here we successfully done this job. Okay, we successfully get that user, and also we successfully get this user all that repository. So that is the pretty much basic thing. So that is our main API. Into this API there is another property I declare as a repos URL. I call another URL this user related all that repository. I successfully get it, and now it's successfully visible it in here. Okay, great. In our next video I want to do, when you search one keyword to the another keyword, I want to load one of the loading animation here. How can do this work? In our next video I will show you that things with a live example. Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video, here we are able to successfully get user all the data, and this user related all the repositories, right? Which is totally fine. But if you refresh this page, so they have all that our demo text, right? So that is a demo text. I want to remove this demo text here for the first time. That will be as a totally empty. If you want to do that work, that is in our HTML. Right now, go to that our HTML, that is index.html, and into this index.html here, before I have already take all the data, right? Here you can see I have already take this repo, and also I get our images portion. You can see there is the images dev, right? Which is totally fine. Right now I want to do, that is our dev is started, and then dev is ended. So before after this I want to remove everything. I simply remove it. And also there is a repos, and after that repos, that is our repos. Okay, there is two repos. I select it. You can see there is a dev, one dev, I remove it, and also there is another one, I remove it. because I have already taken it. Right now, if you make it as a click as a save all, now go click as a refresh. Yeah, you can see it's totally clean. But right now there is a repos I want to do that have also the user details. Okay, this part here I want to use one of the style. Okay, style, and I want to make it as a display none. Okay, display will be as a none. So now then that will be actually totally clean. Click as a save all. Now go there. Now refresh. Now you can see it's totally clean. Here we have to do when you search one user to the another user, then I want to do and to load on of the loading. Okay, and also if you make it as empty, okay, for the empty, if you click as enter, then that will be display on of the error. Into the console, if you go into the console, it should be display some of the error. You can see it's display some of the error. Here we have to prevent it, and also if you make inappropriate one of the user, click as a enter. Now you see it's creating another error. So step by step we will also solve it. Okay, step by step we will solve it. Now right now it's totally clean. So first of all I want to solve our empty option. Okay, that means when that will be the empty, and if you click as a enter, then that will be not display any error. Here we have to prevent it because this field not should be as a empty. Okay, I have already discussed about that things with you before, how to do that work with using that length, right? With the length property we can actually manage it. So now I want to do that is in our which place I have done. If you go to our index and do the index, that is all that our user, and then you can see that is actually all that our details, right? Here I have already get everything, and that is our search, everything data. There is a find another ID, which is totally fine, right? I want to do here, I want to put another condition. Okay, and also right now we don't need this console log. Here I want to remove this console log, and also I remove this console log. Okay, I simply remove it. Great. So I want to put another if condition. Okay, I put some of the if condition, and into this if condition area here I have already get everything with this profile, right? Here you can see there is a profile. So now when this profile, and into this profile I want to run our property as a length property. Okay, length property, and with this length property when it should be as a greater than 0. Okay, when it will be greater than 0, then that will be get all the data. That means then it will be executed. I simply cut it from to this position, and now I want to do and to paste it in here. So right now our length should be as a 1. Okay, so now with this condition we can able to protect it successfully. I hope friend it's very clear. Now I want to solve our another issue. Like here if you pass inappropriate one of the name, like if you go and in particular that position, if you pass inappropriate one of the username, click as a enter. Now you see it's now display as a message as a not found. Okay, now I want to access our this object property as a message. I want to do that is a username, right? It should be checked with the username. I want to add another if condition here. Step by step process. I hope friend you understand every part, and as I told you, you have to practice it. You have to check this video, and also you have to practice it. Then that will be everything will be more clear to you. Okay, so now with this profile, because here I have already get all that our user data, there's a profile, and with this profile I want to access our property name as a message, right? Here you can see there is a message. I want to copy it, then that will be our message. Great. And in here when that will be the equal, sorry, here I want to do when that will be the equal, then I want to display on the string value as a not found. Okay, I make it as a not found. This type of one of the messages will be displayed. Here you can also add another HTML tag. I have in our index there have also another HTML tag. You can see there is another div as a user not found. You can also load it in here else. Okay, else it will be what? Else it will be get our this total user profile data. Okay, so this profile data I have already take it. Now I cut it from to this position, and then here I paste it. Okay friend, I hope every part is very much clear to you. So it's very simple, all that process step by step. So here first of all it will be check the length. When it will be get this length, which is totally fine, it will be display our username, the profile username, everything. Okay, that means repository, everything it will be display. Then I put another condition. It will be check our message when that will be as a not found, because here I have already get some of the things. You can see there is a not found. Okay, when that will be as a perfectly match, then that will be executed something else, that means they have already one of the data. So then for the reasons here, it will be get that user profile all that repository, and also it will be get that profile data. Okay, so that is our else part. And into the if part, as I told you, if you want to load this dev, what exactly you have to do, there is one of the class name as a not found, right? Here we have to get this with the query selector. The same procedure I want to do in our index. Okay, into the index, that is our total find, right? When that will be as a not found, I want to load it. That means here we have to get this data. There is a documents and then the query selector, and into this query selector here we have to get that our class name as a not found. And also here I want to pass one of the style. Okay, style, and then the style display and display I want to do before I make this display, I make it as a display none. Right now I want to make it as a block. Okay, I want to make this display will be as a block. Okay, block. Great. So here that's all. Now that should be display. If you now click as a save all, now go there. Now let's check this out. Click as a refresh, and now here I put inappropriate some of the name, and after that if you click as a enter or click as here, it's not working. If you go to that inspect, I want to check it. Go to that console. Its references as a profile is not defined. Okay, in promises, its display as a profile is not defined. That means if you go here, I have already put that length. You can see I have actually added that profile length. That will be not that profile length. That will be our field as a username, right? So that means that it will be as username, and this username length will be is equal to greater than as a 0. Okay, then that will be get this data, because here I have already protect this field. Like this field must have to be one character, which is totally fine, and then that will be same. Then let's check this out. Click as a save all, and now if you go, I want to refresh it, and now I want to put inappropriate some of the name. Click as a enter. Yes, you can see now it's perfectly get our user not found. Okay, which is totally fine, because here and that is our, that means when that will be message will be as a not found. Here I have already checked it. There is one of the API message, right? There is a message when that will be as a not found equal be when it should be match. Then it should be get this data as a document query selector with the not found style display. I make it as a block. Okay, before if you go in here, that is our class name as a not found, and style before that was as a display none. Right now I have changed it. I make it as a block for the reasons it's perfectly get. That means when that will be as inappropriate, then that will be display as a user not found. And now I want to display, that means when you access any user first time, that will be loaded one of the loading. Okay, here if you go to your index.html, into this index.html, that is one of the loader. You can see that is one of the div. Okay, into this div I have already loaded one of the loader. Now I want to display it, so that will be the same process. By default I make the display as a none, and that is our class name as a loader. Now I want to take it. If you want to take it, that is in our index. Okay, into the index, that is our on the length, which is totally fine. And after that that will be display that username, right? Before that username, I want to first of all get it, that will be a document. Okay, document, and then the query selector. With this query selector, I want to take this class name, right? I hope you already know about this part. That is a class name as a loader. I copy it, then that will be as a loader. Great. So I want to also add the same things as a style. Okay, style, and then the display. I want to make this display as a block. Okay, that will be as a block. Great. And also when it will be get that user data, here I want to make it again as a none, because that this loader then should be display, right? After that user, here I want to update it, then that will be again changed as a none. Okay, I make it as a none. Great. Okay friend, I hope it's very much clear to you. And when this loader will be loaded, before this getting this name, I want to also don't display any information, right? If you want to close it, that means if you go to our index, into this index, there is also the search option, and then there is user details. Okay, so these user details also I want to make it as a none, because here when it will be get this user data before this, that will be totally clean. Okay, for the reasons here I better copy it, and here I paste it. So our class name as a user details, is user details. I want to do and to make it as a none, okay, which is totally fine. And also I want to do there is a repository and there is a not found also I want to do and to close it, but that means here I also want to make it as a none. I copy it and then I paste it, and then that is our class name as a not found. I copy it, that will be as a not found will be as a none. Great. But when it will be perfectly get that data, that means after that when it will be get that user data, which is totally fine, then our loader will be as a none. Great. And also when that will be perfect, else when they have any inappropriate user, then that will be display our not found. I have already tested. And when that will be put appropriate username, okay, appropriate, for the appropriate username, here I want to do and to display all that our user. Okay, if I have already make that user details as a none, here now I want to do and to make it as a block. Because here when that will be perfect, when it will be get appropriate user data, then I want to do and to update it in here. Okay, in that will be obviously as a block, because I want to do and to display it, right? I want to display it, for the reasons here I make it as a block. I hope friend it's very clear, every part is very easy. Okay, so here it will be first time that I make some of the div as a block and the none, and when it will be get that appropriate user data, our loading will be not display, and when it will be not match, then our div, that means not found div, will be loaded. Else, that means if they have appropriate data, then that will be displayed as a profile. And for the reasons here in our user details, I make it as a none. So for the reasons here right now, when that will be get that profile data, our this style display will be updated as a block. Great. Now let's check this out. If you now click as a save all, now I want to go click as a refresh. Okay, now I want to search with our username. What exactly that username as a Andrew, right? I will copy it. I want to search with the Andrew. Now click as a enter. You can see it's now successfully get that user data, and also loading is loaded, and there is CSS is missing here. There is a block, right? Here we have to change it. So here you cannot use that block. Here you have to use it as a flags. Okay, then our CSS will be appropriate. I make it as a flags. Now save all. Now go there. You can see that the div is missing. Now click as a refresh, and now to search with the again Andrew. You can see now that is perfect. It's perfectly get our user all the data, and also it's loading. Our loading is working. And if you search with the easy learning BD, okay, BD, and now I'm going to search with this user, you can see loading is loaded, and then that is perfect. When it will be get this data, our loading is totally gone. For the reasons here I make it, when it will be perfectly get that user data, then our loading will be as a none, that means none. Okay, which is totally fine. And if you put an appropriate username, search it, you can see loading is loaded, and then user not found is loaded. When it will be get that user not found, you can see after that, that is our when that will be as a match, then that will be display as a not found will be as a block. Great. I hope friend every part is very much clear to you, and here we successfully complete our total everything for this project. So that is one of the API project. I hope you like it very much. Okay, you can search everything as per your demand. Great. Our loading, everything is great. Okay, here we successfully done this job.